All right. It's February 7th. Not sure when this is coming out, maybe today or tomorrow or something, but I want to talk a little bit. I said something yesterday. Um, you know, a lot of us, when you try so hard for something, and then when you initially start seeing success, we get this relief syndrome, and for some reason, a lot of people quit trying. You have to fight, for this just as hard as you did losing when you're winning. It's got to be an everyday thing, and there's tons of companies out there still doing it. There's tons of companies that's living on the shoestrings of people that used to work for them. But we want to talk about the use of social media today. A little bit of recruiting and then a little bit of molding. I don't know how long this is going to be. I'm going to try to keep it short because it takes forever to upload these things. But as I do two parts, generally what I'm doing tomorrow probably won't be the same today, so I'm not sure how great that's going to be. So I'm going to try to knock it out. Social media, I think people need to wrap their, what I know of social media, what I've used social media for in the past, growing, it coming out after we were adults. We learned to communicate or talk or reach out to recruits or potential clients or however you might want to call it without these tools. And we rely on that. And what I've tried to do is a hybrid of both. I still think the people skills, and like yesterday, I got on the phone with someone from Boston, and I never met the guy. I had some questions about some potential clients, but it turned into like a 55-minute phone call, and I wouldn't say we were best friends, but it was almost like that stepbrother. Like, did we just become best friends? But I think that's important, and I think that's a lot of the problem that the new people who already conquered the social media on what it can do or what it means. A lot of them can't grasp that the personal touch, the reaching out and calling somebody. I've had people that I've called and like, wow, you guys still do business this way? I mean, not even. So I think the personal touch, because so much could be, these emails that you get or come and go. They're to our interpretation. So we may not really understand what that person means, and so I like to talk to them. But anyway, social media, nowadays what companies need to do is, or what I think they should do, is the first breath of potential recruits or potential clients are going to see of your company is through social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I recommend that your company should probably have all the handles, and that will stop from people that will get mad at you, and people will get mad at you, and then create a handle, try to abuse that. So you want to make sure that you lock down every possible social media anyway. This so it doesn't get misused, by somebody else. But that recruit, and security is so much looked at as a bus stop, so to speak. The people aren't going to stay there that long, and they're going to move on to something else, and that's fantastic. But you have to find a way to keep them there, and one of the things is to do is creating your brand. Sorry about the burp, but your symbol. Like how Ford. When you see that circle, that's Ford. Even the commercials that have to cover it up, or what it is. So you have to think of. I know people don't like to use. I get in these conversations where security comes like, well, I don't want to think of ours as a product. We want to think of security as a process. Well, it is. Security is a process, but it's your product that has to go through that process. You're basically selling spaces of time. Your blocks of time. That's what you're selling. Now, what you put in it is going to be the key of winning or losing. You can, and a lot of people do it nowadays. They just put anyone to fill it. You see it, and we've seen it in static security for many, many years now, and it's being used in event security, which is really scary. Not everyone's going to be the top level guy, and one of the things that people have to do is they have to learn to put someone where they're going to be successful at. You know what I mean? Because their success is going to breed your success. Their loss is going to breed your loss. So, but let's not talk about that. But, you don't know who these recruits of tomorrow are. They may be a 13-year-old today, or a 15-year-old today, or a 17-year-old today, or a 50-year-old today. That's just your recruits. You know what I mean? So whatever it is that you can do to enrich your brand to that recruit, you know what I mean? They're already there. Give them an opportunity to stay there. The amount of company pages where people don't even engage questions, or they don't engage conversations on there, you're already in the wrong. Because that person is going to get, how they perceive it, because we live in a world not basically on facts anymore, but how people perceive things. I don't like it. Everything how I perceive things, they're not always right. Just as the person next door or the person across the street, all three of us could see the same thing. And how I perceive it and how they perceive it is probably going to be two different things. So you have to do your brand almost like Saturday morning cartoons. You know what I mean? You want people, when they get on Facebook, what do? You stroll. You go through things. You check on things. Everybody does it. If you don't, then again, that's another thing you should be doing. You should be spying on what other people are doing. You should be spying on other companies' practices. You're going to learn some great things, and you're going to learn probably some bad things. It doesn't have to be how I say it should be. It should be whatever is best for your company. Because that recruit, like I said, it may not be today's recruit. And that's the other thing that companies, when they post stuff, they're trying to find a replacement for the employee that quit today or yesterday. That's not going to work. That's how you end up with garbage. You might find a jewel in the aisle, or diamond in the rough. Sorry, I don't want to say jewel, but diamond in the rough every once in a while, but 95% of the time you're not going to. So you have to start your social media program creating this brand. That was the first thing I talked about. This exciting, it's got to be that pop. It's got to be that recruiting, the Army recruiting video, or or NFL football recruiting. It's got to be that pop. It's got to have music. It's got to have lights. It's got to have shine. It's got to pop at night. That's, and especially how social media is. You can see right away wherever you put that video is what the numbers are going to be. Are people actually watching it, or are they continue watching it, or are they watching it twice? People don't use that, and it's a shame because it's free. Facebook is free. You're going to pay somebody to do it, and you should have a full-time department. Call it, intelligence, call it, recruiting, call it, marketing, whatever it is you want to call it. But the person has to have a solid foundation of the security world and everything in it. So clients, the same thing. You never know who's looking at your Facebook. LinkedIn kind of gives us an idea. Some of the other ones might kind of give you an idea. But like stuff like Facebook, you have no idea where that's going to go. You know what I mean? So, and a lot of people, get caught up on, let me call legal, let me do this. It's not that hard. You use, YouTube has a free use thing on their site for songs. There's so many songs, and it's free use. The copyright's already taken care of. You don't have to worry about that. You're not putting anything sensitive to the client or to the employees, but your employees should know. I mean, like how the Ford or Chrysler or whatever you want to call it. I mean, they're going to show their product. Well, that's what we want to show. You know what I mean? So, especially in events, I don't want to be in a picture. Well, then maybe you don't want to be here because there's ways that you can hide, people in pictures. I get it. And everyone wants to put their face. I don't want to do this. I just hope, it's going to help somebody out there or help me to help somebody out there. So, like I said, you need to start using your social media for recruiting tomorrow's recruits, next month's recruits, next year's recruits. Your events division, they should be recruiting 12 months out of the year. You should be making lists 12 months out of the year. Somebody should be calling those people, not every day, but maybe every quarter, every couple months, just to make sure that nothing in their status has changed. Or send them an email. There's a lot of ways to stay contact. Recruiting in May for a June event, you're going to run out of your luck. You're just are. Especially if you're working an event that a lot of people is doing. Like last year, I helped recruit for a national company, and it was hard because I came so late in the game for these guys. But there was 5 or 6 other companies. Not only were they out there recruiting, but they've been recruiting for months. I still end up getting 100 and something names. Were they all 5-star security guards? No. Were they all 5-star event people? No. Not even close. But that's not what the client was asking. It kind of turned into disaster. Not by end, but in how they operate. They weren't ready for it. Their product shows they weren't ready for it. But it's one of those companies that, it's who you know, not necessarily what you can do. And I'm not going to mention any names. If you've been in the business, you could probably figure it out. But anyway, the other thing is, the molding of these people, the molding of your recruit or your clients. Anybody can sell something to somebody who needs it. If somebody is calling you for security services, it's a pretty easy sale. I mean, it really is. If you're going to McDonald's to buy a Big Mac, you're going to buy a Big Mac. They're going to sell you a Big Mac. So you have to think of molding, not only the clients but the recruits weeks, days, months, years in advance. They want you. You want them following your brand, and that's where things like LinkedIn come into play. When I email people, when I call people who aren't in my network, who I don't know, and you start seeing those companies pop up, those personnel pop up, somebody is paying attention. Somebody is taking the effort to find out who you are. If they go to your website and it looks like, a 5th grader, although I'm sure some 5th graders nowadays are pretty wicked awesome at Facebook or social media. But, it has to be somewhat put together. It doesn't have to be, MGM, Fox, type stuff. But if you have it, people are going to love it. Especially, I like to do employee spotlights. I like to do, site spotlights, but obviously, some people might not like that. You don't want to lose an account over that stuff. But, this is stuff you want to make sure your client knows that you do. You have, you can only operate in today's window for so long. You have to be able to see what's going to happen next year or perceive what's going to happen next year. I'm not always right, the last few years, but I spend a lot of effort into paying attention what other people are doing, their successes and their losses, and a lot of that is, not that I'm going to use that as an advantage as far as like me against them, but I'm going to use that in an advantage to make me a better person, to make my product a better product, and the companies that I represent, that all spines down to them too. And like I said, both my, New Hampshire and Michigan, they are doing absolutely awesome. And I'm telling you, especially with BAM Public Safety, a company like that is going to set the standard for what event companies are, what they do, who they represent, who they bring on in that entire New England region. I'm getting a lot of hits from their competitors, a lot of hits from people who actually know them. Some of the big event players out there. A lot of people are nervous because it's one of those regions. They really haven't had a great product. They really haven't. And what Brian and BAM brings to the picture, not only his use of social media, he's a real deal, and he's one of these people that you're going to see write state policies, and he already has. He sits on a couple boards for the state, as far as private security matters and that kind of stuff in New Hampshire. So watch what BAM's doing. If you're in New England and you want to know what you're doing wrong, you might want to take a look at what they're doing. The same thing here with JBI. It's not that he hasn't been successful. They both have been successful before me coming along, but my efforts, my information, my intel helps them. It puts a flashlight on the darkness. When you are making a move, you can almost see within a week or so if that move's hit something. If it hasn't, then you move on. You come back to it when the timing right. That's the other thing that, again, where social media is going to help you. In sales, it's always about when the timing's right. I walked in, to a business, and sold $1 million worth of security services to this person or to this company. But I was in there 3 months before, and they didn't want nothing to do with me. Nothing. They weren't ready for it. They didn't want it. So social media gives a steady, use out there that people can get to at any time. You don't know what that person's doing at 2 o'clock in the morning. A lot of them are social, because social media is such a huge part of everybody's life now. Even the people that says they don't do it, everybody has a Facebook page. Some people use it. I don't use Facebook like everybody else. I've always used it for a business type thing. I was thinking about the malls the other day. Right now, one of my clients, we're pretty close to getting them into a mall, and so I was asked, what I liked about the malls, because I was there, maybe 10 years, from bottom guy up. Every time I tried to leave, they gave me more money and promotion. I think what I liked is the molding of people. A lot of the people that I got, they were misfits elsewhere. From other sites, they weren't successful. So basically, they were coming for me to fire them. And out of the 8 to 10 years there, I've only had to fire one. That's because he was stealing. The other ones I was able to save, and 90% of them went on to law enforcement careers. And even one went on to a doctor, believe it or not. It's kind of weird, huh? Especially where I am. So you have to take the time to mold people. When you look at applications, well, this isn't a great security guy now, but if you don't take the time to know them, if you don't call them, like one of the meetings I was supposed to take place last night, the client had to cancel because they had these phone conference interviews, where their command staff was talking to potential clients, and it was, it was almost like, I wouldn't say a rite of passage, but it was almost like, a board decision, if they were going to use this person or not use a person, and that's amazing. You have to take that time. You can't just hire somebody on paper. I mean, I've seen some people that were fantastic on paper, and they were just garbage in the field, and just the opposite. I mean, they were shitty on paper. I have had a guy that, chicken scratch, and I write chicken scratch, so I'm not making fun of him, but, I mean, the minimum on his application, and somehow it came out, somebody from the company hired him, didn't like him, and this guy turned out to be an all-star. I mean, of course, sometimes, I had to chase him out of the stores because he was down there trying to pick up chicks with karate. We had a bike patrol, so I had to make a point to, the supervisors were watching him because he liked to go in the stores and try to do karate while I was picking up chicks. But he turned out to be a good guy, and from what I hear, he's very successful. Maybe not necessarily in the security. I think it's cannabis, but a cannabis store, cannabis something. But you just never know. You have to spend the time with them. But I think this is already carrying too long, and I'm starting to dull it a lot. So that's it, you guys. Like I said, it's important to think about your social media for the future. Posting, vacancies to replace yesterday's employee is great. You have to do it, especially if you're trying to find them. Yesterday's events, that's great. That's pop. But, you have to be posting thinking forward. The more people you could bring into your brand, the more people that you're going to want to be there. And recruiting, make it a point, go after people. I always did that too. I shopped around. I went to other malls. I went to other events. And if I liked somebody, I offer them a job. But that's it. We'll see you. It's at 22 minutes. Have a good day.